Hello everyone, Lindsay here. So today I'm going to be having a beauty smackdown on the 3 blending sponges that I own. So all 3 of these are currently damp. I have the Beauty Blender, the Real Techniques blending sponge, and the Eco Tools blending sponge. So I'm going to go ahead and go through which one I like the best. I'll have a video showing how each one works on my face, so blending in my concealer and foundation. So they each have their own little video, so you can see that. And then I also have a video I also have a clip in here where I'm washing all 3 of these, so then you can see how much foundation is really being soaked into the sponge. Okay, so if you want to see and find out which one I like the best and how these all perform, then go ahead and keep on watching. Okay everyone, so now I am going to try out the Real Techniques blending sponge. Right now it is damp. I'm going to go ahead, put on my concealer, foundation, and blend it in with this blending sponge so you can see how well it works. Okay, so now that I have that on, I'm going to go ahead and take the blending sponge and blend in the concealer. So I'm using the bottom part of the Real Techniques blending sponge first. And that is the flat part of the blending sponge. That is one thing that I do like about this blending sponge, that it has that flat bottom. Okay, so going under the eye, and I'm starting with the flat part of the blending sponge, and then once I need to get more precise, that is when I go in with the other side. This one, out of all 3, I feel like is the softest. Okay, so now I'm going in with the tip to get the inner eye, inner under eye. Okay. Now going on the nose. Okay, and the forehead. So I may have let the forehead dry a little too much. That's why it's not blending out as much. So that's not the blender's fault. That is the concealer, not me letting it dry too much. Still doing a really good job of blending it out though, but. Okay, now I'm going to go in with foundation. So for this one, I am going to use a combination of the Fit Me by Maybelline in Dewy Plus Smooth, and a little bit of the Naked Skin foundation in 3.0. And this one is in the color Nude Beige. So you can see it right there. Okay. So I'm gonna go in with the tip end of the blending sponge. So that is usually all I use the blending sponge for, is concealer and foundation. So I'm not going to go in using it with any powder, loose powder, anything, because I usually don't do that with this. So that's all I'm going to show you with my blending sponge. So there you go. There is the foundation all blended in with the Real Techniques blending sponge. Okay, so the thing I like about the Real Techniques blending sponge that is different than the other two is it's softer. It's softer. I like this flat part, so when you put it down anywhere, it's not going to roll around. And the tip on here, so it kind of has, it's kind of like the Beauty Blender and the Eco Tools one put into two. So it has a flat part and then it has a tip. So those two together, you know, the Beauty Blender has a tip but not a flat edge. The Eco Tools has a flat edge but not really a tip. So, you know, if you're looking for both in one, the Eco Tools is your guy. And yeah. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and use my Eco Tools blending sponge, and this is the full size after it's been soaked in water. I took out the excess water, and now I'm going to go ahead and use it. So let's start with concealer. Okay, so I was just using the rounded edge right now. I mean the rounded part of the blending sponge. And now I'm going to keep using the rounded part, and then I'm going to go in with the flat part, the flat edge for under the eyes. So although it doesn't really have like a pointed tip, I do like the flat part for under the eyes, and sometimes to use on the bridge of the nose. Now I have some dry spots under my eye right there, so it's not looking like super blended in there, but that's just because of that part. But other than that, it did a good job of covering it up. And the good thing about how this flat part is, like if you're going in with concealer after you do your eyeshadow, you could just make like that perfect edge right there, and you can't really get that as much with the Beauty Blender or with the Eco Tools blending sponge. And that's one thing that I like about that, because you could use a brush to get that, you know, perfect edge, but you know, sometimes it's nice just to have like a blending sponge that does that too. Okay, so I don't know if you can see, there's some like redness under my eyebrow and some redness here. I went in with the eyeshadow razor. I mean I just went in with this razor for shaving around the eyebrows, and I shaved a little bit by my mustache, and now my skin is irritated. So anyways, let's go in with our foundation. Okay, so I have my foundation on the back of my hand. I'm going in with the rounded edge, the rounded part of the blending sponge, and putting that on my face now. Now, for some reason, I don't know if it's like the color, the shape, or what, but I like this blending sponge more than the Real Techniques one. Like, I think I'm starting to just like them about even, but at first I really just like this one better. This one out of the three is the hardest. Like, it's still soft, and it doesn't feel like you're pounding your face or anything. Also, just to let you know, if you are to pick up the Eco Tools blending sponge, it comes with a tiny sponge also, like a smaller sponge that's about like half the size. And this one, even when soaked, the density is just much higher than the other blending sponge that comes with. So it feels like I'm pounding on my face, so I don't use this one. Okay, so the foundation concealer is on and blended in, and now here's like a closer up look. So the spots that I feel like aren't really like blended as much are because of my skin. So like under my eye here, it's kind of dry, but I don't know if you can tell any difference compared to the Real Techniques or the Beauty Blender. I feel like they're all like stacked side by side and they all work well. The only thing so far that I'm seeing for myself is that the Beauty Blender is just holding up on the wear and tear so much better. And I feel like with my Beauty Blender I can just put on the foundation so much quicker, but you know, we'll see. But anyways, so I know you can tell that I have a different top on, my hair's different, so when I come back to you again to show you the Beauty Blender, I'll be in probably a different top. My hair will be a little bit different because I'm doing the foundation on 3 different days because I don't want to waste my foundation. Okay, so see you again next time. Okay, so now let's go ahead and use the Beauty Blender to blend out my concealer and my foundation to see how this performs. Also, this is another day, and last night I was horrible and I rubbed my eyes too much, so now they're ugly and puffy and everything, so just to let you know that in advance. So it's, yeah. Anyways, let's get on to trying out the Beauty Blender, see how it performs. Okay, so just like with the other blending sponges, I already put moisturizer and the Professional underneath for the foundation and the concealer. I'm going to be using the same concealer and foundation as I did with the other 2 blending sponges. Okay, so I'm using the rounded part of the Beauty Blender to blend out first, and then I'll go in with the tip part for like around the eyes and for more precise blending. So now I'm gonna go ahead and get my foundation and put that on. Okay, so now I have my concealer, foundation on using the Beauty Blender. So you can go ahead and take a look to see how it's blended in on my face. Okay, so I think with the Beauty Blender, I don't know if it's because I'm used to it, like I've been using it a lot longer than the other two blending sponges or what, but I just feel like I can just put on my makeup just slightly faster than compared to the other blending sponges. But yeah, so I'm used to like the rounded part and then the pointy part, so like not having a flat edge on the Beauty Blender is fine. Having that sometimes is really nice, but not having that is just as good. So I'm gonna go ahead and finish the rest of my makeup and then come back and just let you know what I think overall about all three blending sponges. Okay, so I am using a bar of soap to clean the Beauty Blenders, or the blending sponges, since they're not all considered beauty blenders. So I'm using Dial Hard hand soap. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and start with the Eco Tools blending sponge first, so you can see how it looks right now. The foundation and concealer that's on it. It doesn't look like there's too much on it, but yeah. So I've been using this one for about maybe a month and a half or 2 months at most, and I washed it just the same as I washed my Beauty Blender, and you can see the tearing that is happening here. The edges are fine, but that is happening there. Other than that, I think that's the only spot. And I clean it just like I clean my Beauty Blender. Like I'm not extra harsh with it. I'm just as harsh with my Beauty Blender as I am with this sponge. You can also see here there's a little bit of fraying, tearing happening. Okay. I am going to be using warm water to clean my sponges. If I turn off the warm water, I might just go back and turn on the cold water, just depending on how hot it gets on my hand. So dampen the sponge with as much water as you can get inside, and then I put the soap a little bit under the water and then the sponge on the soap. And sometimes I'll go back, dip it in the water, and then go back on the sponge, back on the soap, because they'll lather it up better sometimes. So I don't know if you can see the foundation that's coming off already. And then just pushing up and out the soap and any foundation. Going back and just seeing if there's anything else on it. Okay, I'm going to do the bottom part of the blending sponge. So I don't know if maybe how I move my finger, that's why this is happening here. But, you know, I don't know why that would happen there and nowhere else. Okay, so now this is all clean. And yeah, doesn't seem to be any stains on the blender so far. And that's how it looks. Okay, so next up is going to be the Eco Tools blending sponge. And this one is green in color, so you can see the foundation much clearer. And this one I've had slightly longer than the Real Techniques blending sponge, but compared to the Real Techniques blending sponge, it is coming apart much quicker. So you can see clearly in the camera where it's coming apart and fraying. The edges are fine. They're not coming apart at all. The bottom is fine. But yeah, right here on this part is the worst. Okay, so I'm just trying to get as much water in here as possible. Soak it up. Okay, now that it's soaked up, I'm going to go ahead and get my soap and just lather it up. Okay, so just like the Real Techniques sponge, I am pushing through the excess water and any soap and foundation that's in there. So that part looks pretty good right there. So let me go on to the back part. Oh, you can see the foundation that came out of there, I think. So this one is still stained. I don't know if you can see that or not, but it's still slightly brown. So I'm going to lather that up some more. Compared to the Beauty Blender and the Real Techniques sponge, I feel like this one eats up more of the foundation. But I do like this one just slightly better than the Real Techniques one. I think because of the edge it has on it, I just like the edge better. I don't know why. Okay, I can still see some foundation in there, so I'm going back a third time. Yep, still foundation in there. I am unsure if there's foundation in here anymore, so I'm just going to go back another time, just in case. Okay, let's see. Yep, still more. Still more. See some more then. Okay, looks good now. think that's good finally. So I'm going to go ahead and rinse that one off, and here it is, all clean. Still pretty damp. So yeah, it's the wear and tear. It's okay, but on this side, but not so good on this side. Okay, last but certainly not least is the Beauty Blender, and this one is in the tan nude color, so you can see that there is foundation on here, and it looks like a lot because the sponge is so light. So, and if you can see, there is no real wear and tear on the Beauty Blender. So the pores might look slightly bigger here in a way compared to maybe when I first got it, but there's no wear and tear compared to the other two. And I've had this one the longest compared to the other two. I've had this one at least 3 months, and I'm pretty sure that's when you should get another one. I'm not 100% sure. I'm going to look that up. But yeah, let's go ahead and clean this one. Okay, so this one is all damp. Get the soap. I find this one slightly easier to clean. And it lathers up so much easier. Can you see that? It's lathering up so much more. Oh, look at all that foundation. I don't know if you saw that. So I'm going in for a second time. More foundation. Okay, that's pretty good. Now there's a little bit of foundation on the tip of the Beauty Blender, so I'm going to go in there and okay, so there is the cleaned Beauty Blender. Oh, so I didn't notice that, but there's a little bit of tear right there. I don't know if that's new or what. I didn't notice that before. So, but other than that, it is in pretty good shape. There's the bottom. There's the tip. And yep. So as you can see, these are all cleaned and they're all damp right now. So right now the Beauty Blender looks the smallest. This one in the middle probably looks the largest, but this one is pretty large too. So yeah, let me turn it around so you can see it the other way. Okay, so we've gone through the whole video. We've seen how each Beauty Blender works, how it performs, how it blends in the foundation and the concealer on my face. And then we went ahead and washed all 3 Beauty Blenders to see which one soaks up the most foundation. So from that video itself of which one soaks up the most foundation, I think it's kind of like a tie between the EcoTools and the Beauty Blender. They soak up more of the foundation. And I was pretty surprised because I thought the Beauty Blender was better at not soaking up as much foundation when I initially first bought these other 2. But now that I've been using them for a little while, like a couple of months, I noticed that the the Real Techniques blending sponge is actually doesn't soak up as much foundation as the other two. So if you're looking for something that's not going to use as much of your foundation, that would be the Real Techniques blending sponge. As far as wear and tear goes, so the Real Techniques blending sponge, you can see that there's wear and tear here, and that's really the main part, that there's the wear and tear. On the Eco Tools, there is wear and tear on this part of it. Other than that, there's a couple spots in other places, but that is the main part where it's wear and tear. As far as the Beauty Blender goes, I've had this one the longest out of the three, and there's only really this one spot here that has the wear and tear. So if you're looking for something that is going to go ahead and last you a lot longer, that would be the Beauty Blender. That's what, if you want something that's going to last longer, go ahead and get the Beauty Blender. As far as something that you're going to either want to be able to use either wet, damp, or dry, I recommend the Beauty Blender because it still stays pretty soft even when it's dried down. If you let it dry for multiple days, it's not as soft, but the other two, like after one day, they go back to being pretty hard. So I would recommend getting the Beauty Blender on that aspect. As far as price goes, the Real Techniques and the Eco Tools are cheaper, so if you don't mind repurchasing them sooner because of the wear and tear, then you can go ahead and buy these. Overall, if I am going to repurchase one of these, I would for sure buy the Beauty Blender again because I just love it. I love the size. I love that it comes in a container that you can just set it on there to dry when you're not using it. The wear and tear, like this is going to last me a long time. I know that they recommend you to only use it for like 3 to 6 months, something like that. But for me, if like I'm washing it every day, I'm only using it on myself, and I'm using it when I have my face is clean and everything, that I don't mind keeping this as long as I can. So I would repurchase this one for sure because like it works great. The wear and tear is not bad at all. It's easy to clean. It soaks up about the same foundation as the Eco Tools one, and I like the shape of it, so I wouldn't mind repurchasing this one if I have more money that day. So if I didn't have as much money, then I'd probably repurchase the Real Techniques blending sponge, which I'm pretty surprised about because when I bought this one, and I had already just bought this one, I liked this one better. But now after using this for a while, I really like how soft this one is, and then seeing that it doesn't soak up as much foundation, that really is a plus. The only thing is the wear and tear, but compared to the Eco Tools one, it doesn't have as much wear and tear, and I'm going to try and wash it differently, so then maybe the wear and tear won't be as drastic. But I really do like this one, and if you're looking for something that does have a flat edge and is kind of like the Beauty Blender in that aspect where it's one side's pointy, then this would be the perfect one for you. But don't count the Eco Tools one out because although the wear and tear is not the best, it still has that rounded part like the Beauty Blender, and then the flat edge like the Real Techniques one. So I would still recommend this one if you're wanting to try it out, because it's not too expensive. I don't remember the prices, but I'll go ahead and try and find the prices on Walmart or wherever. I think I bought both of them at Walmart. The other two, and the Beauty Blender, I bought it at Sephora. So I'll go ahead and try and insert the prices there for you guys. But if you want to try something where it has like that flat edge, this part, and then like the rounded part, then go ahead and pick this one up, because although it's not the clear winner here, it's still good and it performs well. So overall, my thoughts are go with what you feel comfortable buying. So if you feel like you want to try something out like the Eco Tools, if you want to try out the Real Techniques, or if you want to just go ahead and get yourself a Beauty Blender, I would go with any of the three. So my review here is just saying, go with what you like, go with what your needs are. If you're getting something for just a little while, and you're not going to be using it for a long time, then get something that's cheaper, you know. But if you want something that's going to last a lot longer, then you would get the Beauty Blender. So it's really up to you of what you really want. But like right now, I'm happy with all three. I use one day, use the next one another day, and use the next one another day, and I keep going like that. Sometimes I'm more likely to use the Beauty Blender. I don't know if it's just because I'm more used to it, I've been using it longer or what, but you know, it just depends. But anyways, I hope you enjoyed this review and this SmackDown, and I'm sorry it's such a long video, but I just wanted to make sure I included, you know, me using all three, me washing them, and then me being able to discuss them with you, because I feel like when it comes down to it, there's just so many different reviews on the different the different blending sponges, and they don't really show you like a wear and tear. They don't show you them washing them so much, and that's something I really did want to include because I've been using these for at least 3 months, and that's what I wanted to make sure to show. So hope you guys enjoyed this, and I'll see you again tomorrow. Bye.